elevation.
Cool and Dre.
Big blunts, dope boys wanna smoke with me. Now we ride double M's through the whole city. Niggas talking down, but they always feel me. A 9-figure nigga, all I wanna talk is business. I seen a big mouth get a closed casket. Self-made, took over the whole racket. A kilo after kilo, see who moved the most. 200 for
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Goofy Investing, where we talk about investing in the stock market. This is the underground, where we talk about high growth investments, mainly in the small and mid cap arena. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Unity Group Incorporated, all right? Ticker is UNIT. Trades on the NASDAQ for $11.68. Market cap is 2.84 billion. All right, a little bit of price action on the upside here on the year out 63.38%, year to date 66%. Stock is up. All right, we're going to be looking at the business, I'm going to be looking at the stock, and towards the end I will actually give you the actual fair value share price on what I assess the valuation and how much this stock is really worth. All right, and I'll talk about if this is a good investment or a bad investment. Not financial advice, for entertainment and educational purposes only. All right. What are they? What do they do? All right. Well, they're headquartered in Little Rock, Arkansas. All right. I guess you get the Bill Clinton vibe there. Communication services, integrated telecommunication services. Founded in 2015, got about 8,632 employees. All right. For an actual company that's worth 2.84 billion, that's a lot of employees to have, okay? But essentially they're a fiber provider. They set up internet connection, infrastructure, and so forth. So that's what this is. This is a manualized labor and product play that sets the foundation for internet connectivity throughout the United States. All right, looking at their actual footprint on their investor slide deck, this is the the landscape that they're dealing with. It's all domestic. I'm not tracking they have international endeavors at this time, and they don't need to, because there's plenty of landscape in the United States to provide further growth. All right, so let's take a look at a sniff check on their valuation. All right, keeping with traditions. So total debt is looking like 11.11 billion. Cash is 983.80 million. All right, highly levered balance sheet. Enterprise value goes to 12.97 billion. Okay, so that's pretty alarming. Let's look at their profit margins. All right, this is a formatted, the street and the investment infrastructure, assesses this as more like a REIT format. But gross margin is 61.86%. Net income margin is 41.74%. From the outside looking in, it looks like great margins, okay, to offset the balance sheet. Let's look at the financials to see what they have been doing. I see some revenue growth here as of late in the past few years. Net income, something I've caught here. High preferred dividend yield to be paid off the net income portion. Not what I like to see. So there are preferred shares out there which take priority on the yield of cash flows and off the profits right off the top before the actual shareholders, or the common stock shareholders that are purchasing, are inclusive right here on this line after that deduction. Not cool. All right. Shares outstanding. All right, some dilution happening here. All right, given their debt profile and given their preferred share setup, I don't like to see this much dilution. All right, so that's something to consider. Let's look at balance sheet analysis real quick. Cash is going up. All right, so real estate assets is going up, if you will, and if you look at the liabilities, it's going up as well. So that's not really accretive to shareholder value as far as the financials go. Okay, so but here's the thing to consider. All right, assets from 2020, all right, from 2020, it looks like assets have maybe 3x'd, okay? But you look at, the total liabilities, it looks like it is almost doubled, okay? So assets are outpacing liabilities. So, you know, shareholder equity, that may pinch a little bit of accretive value, but with the actual setup, we're not going to see too much of that, all right? Um, I'm seeing a lot of the total debt here is getting up there. All right, so it's pretty alarming. And then on that net income portion, all right, if you look at the highly levered balance sheet and how much debt they have, you see this huge gap here between the unlevered free cash flow and the levered free cash flow. So your unlevered free cash flow does not take into consideration debt payments to service whatever debt is on the balance sheet. And then your levered free cash flow is what's remaining after the servicement of the debt. Okay. So the levered free cash flow is really the pure organic free cash flows of the company that are for the shareholders, okay, or the common stock. But the unlevered free cash flow, as you see, are for the bondholders and the debt market of the stock, okay. So there's that to consider. Earnings call was, this is my interpretation of the company and where they're headed. They're focused on revenue growth and infrastructure build out, and they're more focused on operations to customer satisfaction. Um, and just because the management team has a stock doesn't necessarily mean that the shareholders are the priority. I assess the shareholders are not the priority when it comes to this actual company. All right. They're more operational based as a utility growth play. Um, and so forth. All right. Insider ownership. Let's take a look at that. Low insider ownership, 1.99%. Okay. So that's something to consider. All right. They did have, let me see here. If we go to, let's do consensus estimates. All right. They do have good growth set up this year on consensus estimates, 62.53%, totaling revenues of 3.63 billion. So really good growth, but consensus estimates got them dropping off a plateau to, no growth from the eye can see after this year. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I think they could post maybe 5-7% next year. And that may be good for the stock, but all in all, at these rates, we're kind of pinching pennies here. All right. So let's look at some other things, okay? Let's look at it like this from an investment perspective, all right? Because I don't want to make this too long of a video, all right? So with the actual idea of their debt profile, all right, this is where I ask the question, okay? So if I buy this stock, do I own this company or does the debt market own this company? Okay. So if the company has 11.11 billion in debt and the market cap is 2.84 billion, you know, those are the valuations of what the company is worth. Okay. From two sides of the angles that you got to look at it as. All right. Financial institutions will, if they're the carriers of the debt, let's say that a financial institution owns all 11.11 billion of the debt. So that financial institution is going to look at that debt as 11.11 billion in assets. All right, under their loan assets. Okay, and then shareholder wise, in the company's valuation on the market deems the company worth 2.84 billion. Are there times where the market cap can exceed the total debt on polarized levered companies? Sure, it's possible, but often short lived and not sustainable. This is a company where if you're investing in it and it pops, probably need to sell it, you know. Let's look at some other indicators. I don't see much value creation in how they're handling the financials with this company. Um, let's as I digress, let's talk about this as an investment. Um, so what the actual overall business model thesis? My question is, what is stopping Starlink from totally crushing all these fiber companies? What's stopping satellite internet from totally crushing all these companies out of existence in a couple decades? And that's my problem that I have with the overall investment thesis. Aside from the CFO and the management are not managing this company properly. Okay? If I wanted to get exposure into fiber and I'm looking for a company that's on the right path, Clearfield is probably it. They have net cash position. Um, Weighted average shares are flat and actually in reduction these past few years. Growth is cyclical, but it's happening. All right, they're set to grow 10% this year, 21% next year. Insider ownership on Clearfield is, how do you say, 18.53%. Okay. So this is a company that's, financially on the right direction for value creation. And even then, I mean, they're doing it right and all, but even then, I couldn't buy this. If I wanted exposure into the fiber industry, which I don't, and disclosure, I don't own any of these companies. I need Clearfield at $30. That's just me personally. Okay. How much do I think Unity Group is worth? Okay. I think they're worth $4.08 a share. Okay. So, that's what I got for it. Do I think it's a good investment? No, I don't. Do I think that they will provide shareholder value in the long run? No, I don't. I think maybe they start a dividend and become a Verizon and the share price is flat at best. Okay. Do I think that this company, what do I think about the stock price of this company? I think the stock price of this company, after they experience this growth right here of 62.53%, I see the stock going back right down to $6 trading range next year. Okay. So, to my people, I warn, stay away from it. I think there's way better opportunities out there than this company. If you're getting value out of this, all I ask is you hit the like button. Okay. Check out my Patreon. All right. Get access to exclusive content. You get the lowdown on what I'm researching, the latest and greatest of what I'm doing. You get buy and sell alerts. I teach you how to do this. You get a community of like-minded investors. You get to pick my brain and actually get really good at this. All right. $14.99 a month. Suspiciously looks like $15 a month. I'll admit. Click this button and pay annually. Save 20%. Give it a shot. All right. What do you got to lose? All right. So with that being said, I thank everybody for y'all's support. And until the next time, I love y'all and take it easy.
You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
One thing to question your mind, it's another to question your eyes and ears.
Remember how you felt when you were alone? Was pain. You were miserable. That's why we're here.
You're not gonna do it, are you? Change the world. You're afraid.